Money used to be chocolate. Not like chocolate-flavored coins or some novelty candy shaped like bills. I'm talking about actual chocolate seeds that people used to buy food, pay workers, bribe officials, and fund entire wars. Before Europe even knew what chocolate was, before gold became the standard, before anyone printed a single piece of paper money, there was a civilization that looked at a bitter seed and said, this is it. This is what we're reusing as cash. And it worked. For centuries. This is the story of the Maya and how they turned chocolate into one of the most sophisticated monetary systems the ancient world ever saw. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. Their economy had inflation. It had counterfeiting. It had supply chain issues. It had geopolitical wars fought over money supply. All the same problems we deal with today, except their money could literally rot in your hands. Let's start with who the Maya actually were, because the version you learned in school was probably garbage. We're not talking about some primitive tribe living in huts. We're talking about a massive civilization that stretched across southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador. At their peak, between 250 and 900 CE, the Maya had cities with tens of thousands of people, massive stone temples, road networks, advanced math and astronomy that Europe wouldn't catch up to for centuries. Cities like Tikal, Palenque, Copan, these weren't just religious sites. They were economic powerhouses. And here's what nobody tells you. These cities needed insane amounts of resources to function. Food, building materials, tools, luxury goods, everything. But they didn't have horses. They didn't have wheeled carts for transport. Everything moved by human power. Porters carrying goods on their backs. Canoes moving through rivers. Organized merchant groups coordinating shipments across hundreds of miles. You don't build and sustain cities like that unless you have an economy that's highly organized, highly efficient, and backed by something people trust. That something was chocolate, or more specifically, cacao beans, the seeds that chocolate comes from. But before we get into how it became money, you need to understand what cacao meant to the Maya. This wasn't candy. This wasn't a snack. Cacao was sacred. It was consumed as a bitter drink by elites during ceremonies, rituals, political meetings. It showed up in their mythology, connected to gods and creation stories. It was used in royal weddings, diplomatic exchanges, religious offerings. In other words, cacao already had value baked into the culture. People believed in it. They respected it. They treated it like it was precious. And that's the first rule of money. It has to mean something to people. It has to have trust. The Maya didn't invent cacao as money overnight. They built centuries of cultural belief around it first. And once that belief was solid, once everyone agreed cacao was valuable, it became a short jump to using it as currency. But belief alone isn't enough. Money also needs to be standardized. You can't have a functioning economy if every transaction is a negotiation about what counts as payment. The Maya figured this out too. Archaeologists have found storage jars filled with cacao beans organized into specific bundles. They were counted, not weighed. Ancient Maya records, the ones that survived, show cacao being used in taxes, wages, fines. It wasn't just valuable. It was measurable, predictable, universal. And here's where it gets wild. We actually know the prices of things. A rabbit cost about 10 cacao beans. A turkey? Around 100 beans. A cotton shirt? 20 to 25 beans. A quality stone tool? 3 to 5 beans. These aren't guesses. These numbers come from Spanish records written after the conquest that documented what the Maya economy looked like before Europeans showed up. And what those records show is that cacao wasn't some primitive barter system. It was a real currency. You could walk into a Maya marketplace with a pouch of cacao beans and buy anything. Food, clothes, tools, labor. Cacao wasn't tied to one specific transaction between two people. It was a universal medium of exchange. That's the difference between barter and money. Barter is, I have corn, you have cloth, let's trade. Money is, I have this thing everyone agrees has value, and I can use it to buy anything from anyone. The Maya had money, and their money was chocolate. Before we go any further, if you're realizing that ancient civilizations were way more advanced than you thought, and that the financial systems we use today aren't as new as they seem, hit that subscribe button for Money Trap channel. We're out here showing you that money, power, and economics have always been connected, and history keeps repeating the same patterns over and over. No fluff, just the raw truth about how the game has always been played. Alright, let's keep going. So the Maya had cacao as their main currency. But here's where their economy gets even more interesting. They didn't just use one type of money. They had a whole hierarchy. Cacao beans were the everyday currency. Small transactions. Buying food at the market. Paying a worker for a day's labor. But for bigger purchases, they used cotton textiles. Woven cloth that held stable value and was used in regional trade. And above that, they had luxury goods. Jade beads, obsidian blades, decorated pottery. Feathers from exotic birds. These weren't just status symbols. They were stores of wealth. The ancient version of gold bars or real estate. You didn't carry jade around to buy groceries. You used it to secure political alliances, pay tribute to kings, or store wealth long-term. This three-tier system allowed the Maya economy to function at every level. Poor people used cacao for daily needs. Merchants used cotton for larger trades. Elites used jade and obsidian for power moves. It was flexible, it was layered, and it worked. But like any monetary system, it had problems. And the first problem was counterfeiting. Yeah, the ancient Maya had to deal with fake money. Cacao beans can be hollowed out, filled with dirt or sand, and resealed to look normal. And some people absolutely did this. Imagine buying your groceries and later realizing half the beans you got as change are worthless. Spanish chroniclers who arrived centuries later wrote about counterfeit cacao beans being a known issue in markets, which means the Maya had to develop quality control, inspectors, trusted merchants, ways to verify that the money you were getting was real. Sound familiar? Counterfeit bills, fake credit cards, fraudulent transactions. We've been fighting the same battle for thousands of years. The technology changes, but the hustle stays the same. The second problem was inflation. Cacao trees don't grow everywhere. They need specific conditions: warm, humid climates, lowland river valleys, regions like what's now southern Mexico and Guatemala. If a city-state controlled a cacao-growing area, they basically controlled the money supply. Good harvest? Prices drop because there's more money circulating. Bad harvest? Prices skyrocket because money becomes scarce. Drought, disease, frost, any of these could wipe out cacao production and throw the entire economy into chaos. The Maya were living in a commodity-backed monetary system. Their money was tied to a physical resource that could fluctuate wildly. And if you think that sounds unstable, you're right. But it's also exactly how most of human history has worked. Gold-backed currencies had the same problem. You couldn't just print more gold. You had to mine it. And if the mines ran dry, your economy suffered. The Maya's version was just more direct. Their money was literally growing on trees. And that created the third problem: geopolitics. Because cacao wasn't just money, it was power. If you controlled the regions where cacao grew, you controlled the economy. City-states went to war over cacao-producing areas, the same way modern nations fight over oil fields or lithium mines. Controlling the plantations meant you could pay armies, fund construction projects, buy political loyalty. Losing them meant economic collapse. Maya kings weren't just worried about military strength or religious legitimacy. They were worried about the money supply. A king who couldn't secure cacao was a king who couldn't pay his people. And a king who couldn't pay his people didn't stay king for long. To manage all this, the Maya developed long-distance trade networks run by professional merchants. These weren't random traders wandering around, hoping to make a sale. These were organized groups with roots, contacts, and protection. The Maya called them pachteca in later periods, though earlier terms existed. These merchants moved cacao, obsidian, jade, textiles, and other goods across hundreds of miles of jungle and mountains. They weren't just businessmen. They were diplomats, spies, information brokers. They understood supply and demand. They knew how to negotiate with local leaders. They managed risk. If you swapped their cacao bundles for shipping containers and their jungle paths for highways, you'd have the exact same system we use today. Supply chains, trade routes, middlemen taking a cut. The Maya figured out global commerce 1,000 years before Europe did. But here's the craziest part. Their money was perishable. Cacao beans rot, they mold, they dry out. Insects eat them. Store them wrong, and your wealth disappears. And yet, the economy didn't collapse because of it. In fact, the perishability might have made the system stronger, because you couldn't just hoard cacao forever. It forced people to spend it, to keep it circulating, to use it or lose it. In a weird way, cacao behaved more like a modern fiat currency than a commodity. It had to keep moving to maintain value. Now, the Maya civilization eventually declined. Environmental stress, political fragmentation, changing trade routes, wars, droughts. The classic Maya cities were abandoned by 900 CE, but cacao didn't die with them. The monetary system survived. Later civilizations, including the Aztecs, adopted cacao as currency and institutionalized it even further. The Aztecs collected cacao as tribute from conquered regions. They used it to pay soldiers. They regulated its trade. When the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they found a fully functioning chocolate-based economy and were absolutely baffled by it. And here's where the story connects to today. Because what the Maya understood, what every successful monetary system in history has understood, is that money is just trust made visible. It's not the cacao bean. It's not the gold coin. It's not the paper bill. It's not the number on the screen. It's the belief that this thing has value, that other people will accept it, that it will still be worth something tomorrow. Every financial system in history, from chocolate to cryptocurrency, is built on the same foundation: collective belief. The moment people stop believing, the money becomes worthless. Doesn't matter if it's backed by gold, government, or algorithms. If trust dies, the currency dies. But the Maya also showed us something uncomfortable. When your currency depends on something you don't fully control, you're vulnerable. The Maya's money supply was tied to climate, agriculture, disease. Ours is tied to energy, supply chains, geopolitics. Their inflation was driven by droughts. Ours is driven by oil shocks and monetary policy. Their counterfeiting came from hollowed beans. Ours comes from digital fraud and market manipulation. Their wars were fought over cacao plantations. Ours are fought over oil fields and rare earth minerals. Strip away the centuries and the technology, And you're looking at the same game. The rules haven't changed. Money is power. Power requires resources. Resources create conflict. And the civilizations that survive are the ones that understand how fragile the whole system really is. The Maya built an entire economy on chocolate because they trusted it. Their markets thrived because everyone agreed on its value. Their trade networks stretched across jungles and mountains because merchants believed they'd get paid. Their kings rose and fell based on their ability to control the money supply. And when that trust started to break down, when the system couldn't adapt to environmental and political pressure, the cities emptied. That's the lesson buried in a cacao bean. Money isn't real. It never was. It's a shared hallucination. A collective agreement that only works as long as everyone keeps believing. And the second that belief cracks, everything built on top of it collapses. We're not so different from the Maya. We've just replaced cacao with dollars, euros, Bitcoin. We've replaced borders with cargo ships and data centers. We've replaced kings with central banks, but the fundamentals are the same. Money is trust. Trust is fragile. And history doesn't care how advanced you think you are. The Maya turned chocolate into currency because they understood something most people today have forgotten. Value isn't objective. It's not inherent in gold or paper or digital code. It's a social agreement. And the strength of that agreement depends entirely on the society holding it together. So the next time someone tells you money is backed by something solid, something real, remember the Maya. Remember that for centuries, one of the world's greatest civilizations ran on chocolate. And it worked. Until it didn't. Because no monetary system is permanent. No currency lasts forever. And the ones that survive the longest are the ones built by people who never forget how quickly trust can vanish. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And if you don't learn the rhythm, you're going to get crushed when the beat drops. If this shifted how you think about money, if you're starting to see the patterns that connect ancient economies to modern finance, don't stop here. Check out our video pops up on your screen next. We're building a community that understands the game. Join you.